The central bank at its monetary policy review meeting yesterday has decided to raise both lending and deposit rates by 100 basis points after carefully considering current and expected global and local macroeconomic developments. Accordingly, the standing deposit facility rate will be 6.5% and the standing lending facility rate 7.5%. The statutory reserve ratio, meanwhile, remains unchanged at 4%. In addition, the board also revised interest rate caps on credit cards to 20% per annum, pre-arranged temporary overdrafts to 18% per annum, and pawning facilities to 12% per annum. In addition, the central bank has issued an 8-point list of measures for the government to consider. It includes measures to discourage non-essential and non-urgent imports urgently based on previous recommendations made by the central bank, increasing fuel prices and electricity tariffs immediately to better reflect costs, incentivizing foreign remittances and investments further, implementing energy conservation measures while accelerating the move towards renewable energy, increasing government revenue through suitable tax increases on a sustained basis, mobilizing foreign financing and non-debt forex inflows on an urgent basis, monetizing non-strategic and underutilized assets, and postponing non-essential and non-urgent capital projects. Speaking at the media briefing this morning, Central Bank Governor Ajith Nivard Cabraal explained that given current circumstances, Sri Lanka needs a further tightening of fiscal measures.
We believe that there is a further tightening necessary, and that tightening has to come in several forms, and not all would be through the actions of the central bank. That's why we have done a policy interest rate hike of 100 basis points, which is one of the higher range of policy interest rate increases in the last 15 or 20 years.
Meanwhile, during the subsequent Q&A session, the governor was questioned on the progress of the roadmap that he presented at the start of his tenure that outlined a host of new inflows that could go some ways in helping the country's reserve position. However, the governor explained that what Sri Lanka has been facing is not in actuality a dearth of inflows, but quite the opposite.
We have not had a dearth of inflows. We have had an increase in our outflows. If you look at the figures, I have given that regularly. Although people don't want to talk about that, there has been immense increase in those numbers. The import figures in 2021 has been one of the highest. If you take some of the non-essential imports also, those have been increased. So therefore, we are concerned about that numbers, and that's why we have requested certain changes to be made for that. In any plan, I know sometimes plans are not made, but when plans are made, people can criticize those. But at the same time, if you don't have a plan, then where are you going? So that's why we have very clearly set out a plan. We have pursued the plan. But in going through with the plan, there will be certain challenges that will occur. Would any one of you have thought that there would be a Russia-Ukraine war, which would have led to the oil prices going up to $117? At the time that we did the roadmap, we certainly didn't think that would happen. If anyone else had thought, I would have appreciated if they could have told us that. But that is the way of the world. There would be certain situations like that. I don't think anyone really assessed that the US would have an inflation rate which is the highest in 40 years, or that UK would have an inflation at the 30-year high. So these are all conditions that are dynamic. And when you have dynamic conditions, we would take certain steps to deal with that. And so far, although there have been some very, very significant challenges, we have been able to move forward with stability. But going forward, we need further steps. That's why today we have increased the interest rates. We think that is the way to go.
The governor was then asked to explain the difference between the contents of the central bank's latest recommendations and the IMF's own that were issued mere days ago.
So if you can ask them, they'll probably tell you more. So we are saying, do this. And we are asking people also that there would be certain measures that will be tough. Not totally tough, but if you go to the IMF, there can be even worse arrangements that will be looked at. So then those will have to be done. So would you prefer the IMF telling that or the central bank saying that? Which one?
Following this, Governor Cabraal was also questioned about the IMF's labelling of Sri Lanka's debt situation as unsustainable and what his response to it would be. He explained that the IMF should have, in hindsight, had a bigger say when the country went on a borrowing spree during the 2016 to 2019 period in the midst of an IMF program.
That comment has been done by so many people. But the last 2 years that have been said. And at the time that these loans were taken, IMF was there. IMF was in a program with Sri Lanka from 2016 to 2019. It is during that period that Sri Lanka's international sovereign bonds increased from 5 billion to 15 billion. So if at all there was going to be any discussion as to the unsustainability, that discussion should have taken place at that time. The current situation with regard to COVID as well as reduction of tourism receipts have put some vulnerability. And then there could be some difficulty that we are facing. That is why you sometimes see certain challenges. But going forward, we are taking certain steps to deal with that as well. So I believe that with those steps, we will be bringing back Sri Lanka's debt to more sustainable levels.
Further, the governor also denied that the Sri Lankan government had approached its debtors for a restructuring program.
We have not requested a restructuring of debt from China. We have requested China as well as some others to offer certain loans in the policy package that we have announced in the past as well, where we have said that we are shifting the loans from commercial loans to that of government to government as well as to swaps arrangements.
Meanwhile, also touching on concerns raised by the pharmaceutical industry this week on the dearth of US dollars to import essential drugs, the governor said that it was disheartening that non-essentials were still taking precedence over essentials.
As you know, although the pharmaceutical industry says that, I don't think you have heard anyone saying that they have a shortage of television sets or dishwashers or apples or oranges. So if those people can be importing those and having it freely available in the supermarkets, and new supermarkets are also opened on a regular basis to have these items stocked up, it is somewhat disheartening to see that drugs are not included in that list.